So, welcome to year 2 of the Good Project lesson plans. These lessons assume that your students have had a full year of the Good Project lesson plans, and this is digging deeply into the second year. So, I'm going to walk you through all this introductory material because it's the first lesson to the second year. There's a fair amount of introductory materials here. Most lessons are not this full, so I'm going to kind of skim over the top of it for you. And again, this assumes that all of your students have had a full year of the Good Project lesson plans. You may have some students who are less familiar, 1 or 2 in the class. That's okay. We try to make suggestions for how to bring them along. So as always, we have the unit learning goal up here at the top, hoping that they will reflect on the meaning of the 3 E's of good work. The goal of this lesson is to agree upon classroom norms, refresh their knowledges about the purposes of these lessons, and begin to work together using some discussion routines. Assessment, there are several different suggestions here about assessments. These are consistent throughout. And then we also have CASEL alignment here. In this particular lesson, it has to do with self-awareness, relationship skills, identity, belonging, and curiosity. Here are all of the different types of portfolio documentation. Again, because it's the introductory lesson, there are more here than there typically will be. These are all linked. I'm not going to go to them right now. And then a number of resources. An introduction, this was something used last year, but because it's been a while, you may want to refresh some of your students' memories. A thinking routine, an optional video, several different resources that we will see again below. Prerequisites, as I've said, the entire previous year of the Good Project lesson plans. Here is one optional refresher. As I said, it's possible that you may have some returning students and some new students. New students might benefit from reading through some of the good core concepts, Good Project core concepts, and then we also have core concept videos. So there, as I said, there's a lot to go through. It probably makes sense to really dig in here and think about your students and who is familiar and who isn't. Okay, so moving to the lesson itself, there's a 5-minute intro about why are we learning about good work. There's a handout, and then there's also an introduction to the Good Project lesson plans. Emphasize the section on what you expect each year of the program and what the learning objectives are for the second year. So the first year was very introspective. It was a lot about what does good work mean to me? And there was a lot of that. And again, the second year is going to be more thinking about what it is to do good work as a professional. So what will that look like in a potential career? Here's an optional video, and then moving into practicing discussion skills. We have a number of different activities here, and we would suggest looking through them ahead of time to think about what might appeal most to your students, what would work best in your particular contexts. So it's really to kind of get your students excited about discussion and working with one another. So here are a few different ideas. One is practicing a thinking routine. We use a lot of thinking routines here at Project Zero. So this is splitting the class into 3, asking them to work in small groups and think about what good work means to them, coming together, and then sharing out and being conscious about how their thinking process may or may not have changed. That's one option. Here is a game. It's just to pass sounds around the circle, whoosh, bang, pow. It's supposed to be fun and a little goofy and enjoyable. And then there's this idea of 1-minute biographies, where students get to share very quickly in 1 minute something about themselves, a short biography, and telling them ahead of time, don't share anything that feels too personal. And then students have to share what they learned about their partners. Really fun activity. So those are 3 different options for this particular section, practicing discussion skills. And then we introduce the portfolio and rubrics. Although there's going to be a lot of discussion in the class, we're going to talk about how we are going to collect and assess your individual work, explain what the portfolio will be used for. To those who participated in the Good Project lesson plans last year, this will be familiar to them. To others, it may be a little less so. And then we have a good project year 2 portfolio checklist. Here are the rubrics, helping them to understand what it is that they will be assessed on and trying to learn. And then we spend 10 minutes working on expectations and norms. If you have a group that you had last year, you can start with norms that you had last year. For others, you may want to start fresh. And here is some, if you have a class of mostly returning students, list the norms from the previous year, ask them if they'd like to make any adjustments. And then here are several different ways to think about other than writing. Here are ways to make it visual. These are suggestions from educators who use the Good Projects lesson plans themselves. One was talking about making it visual, using a PowerPoint presentation to engage students. And that would be she found it to be a very good learning tool. Translanguaging for non-native English speakers, and then a wellness check. So students could let teachers know how they were feeling without necessarily having to put their hand up. So there were a few different suggestions for that. And then an exit ticket. So asking them to complete that exit ticket using a thinking routine color symbol language. As I said, this is a longer intro. I kind of went through it quickly. There's a lot here. It definitely makes sense to dig into each of these and figure out how you want to really set the standard and expectations for your class for this second year. Big second year, and exciting for the Good Project lesson plans.